Is Airbnb causing a housing crisis across the world, especially in places like Mexico, Spain, and Portugal? I ran a poll on YouTube to find out. Out of 245 people, 76% said yes. Airbnb is to blame. And I get it. Prices are rising, locals are being pushed out, and homes feel more like hotels every single day. But here's the truth: Airbnb isn't the cause. It's actually a system of a much bigger problem spreading worldwide. If we banned Airbnb tomorrow, rent wouldn't drop. Homes wouldn't all of a sudden become affordable. The system itself is broken. We're heading towards a world where owning a home could slip out of reach for almost everybody if nothing changes soon. By the end of this video, you'll fully understand why Airbnb gets blamed, who the real villains are, and how we can fix it before it's too late. The fear, why everyone thinks Airbnb is destroying housing. Everywhere you go, people are saying the same thing: Airbnb is destroying housing. You see it in the headlines, on TikTok, and in angry comment sections. People watch rent rise in Mexico City, Lisbon, and Barcelona while tourists flood in. And it feels clear: Airbnb is the reason why locals can't afford to stay. That poll that I mentioned earlier, the numbers in it say a lot. People are scared, frustrated, and tired of being priced out of their own neighborhoods. And when you see homes turn into vacation spots, that fear feels real. And it makes sense. People aren't wrong for thinking this. Prices are rising, locals are moving out, and it feels like someone has to be blamed for this. And the easiest target is the targets that we see, like Airbnb. That fear is real, and the anger is fair. But the truth hiding underneath is bigger than one single app. The story people are being told is neat and simple. It's just black and white, and nothing is black and white. And that's exactly why it's kind of wrong. The belief, how Airbnb became the easy villain in the housing story. People don't wake up one day and decide that they're going to hate on some app. They believe what they see. And what they see is more and more tourists dragging suitcases through their streets. Local families move further out every single year, and rent seems to double. And then there's every other house that seems vacant or that it's being used for a short term rental. This looks like legitimate proof that Airbnb is stealing homes. In places like Portugal, Spain, and Mexico, that picture feels especially real. People are even saying that their landlords are kicking them out to list their property on Airbnb. Cities and towns are starting to feel less like homes and more like a hotel district. When you live like that, you feel the loss every single day. And this story sticks because it fits into what people see and because no one is showing them the full map. They see the pain, but not the system that's actually causing this pain. People believe Airbnb broke housing because that's the story right in front of them. It's what their eyes can see and prove. Most people can't see that there's layers underneath this all: the slow rules, the greed, and the years of promises of building that never happen. The truth and the fear, what's really driving rent and home prices. Here's the part that people partially get right: Airbnb does have an effect. It's not fake. This effect isn't fake. When rent climbs fast in tourist towns, short term rentals can make it worse. That part is real. The problem is that the story just stops there for most people. And there's a lot more to it. The real root of the problem doesn't come from the app. It comes from money and greed. When governments printed huge amounts of cash and dropped interest rates, investors grabbed homes as fast as they could. Real estate became the fastest place to park money. Big companies started buying whole neighborhoods to rent or flip. At the same time, most cities slowed down building. Zoning rules, red tape, and high costs kept homes off the market. So prices start to rise. And regular people got pushed out really quickly. Airbnb added the spark, but the fuel was already everywhere: cheap money, rich investors, and weak rules. So the fear isn't wrong, it's incomplete. Airbnb adds noise to the fire by greed and bad policy. The heat started long before the first listing on Airbnb ever went live. The big picture: the global housing shortage no one is fixing. When you zoom out, the story looks very different. The housing mess didn't start with Airbnb. It started long before apps, smartphones, or short term rentals even existed. What's happening now is that it's the result of decades of bad choices stacked on top of each other. Simply, the world didn't build enough homes. The UN says that billions of people live without safe or affordable housing. Governments slow down construction with strict zoning, long permits, and rising costs. Meanwhile, investors saw the profit in the shortage. They bought more homes, pushed up prices, and even called it growth. Every country from the US to Spain to Mexico did the same thing: reward investors, punish builders, and totally ignore renters. When that kind of system runs long enough, the market tends to bend towards greed. So when Airbnb arrived, it didn't break anything. It just plugged itself into something that was already broken. It joined a system that was already built to fail regular people. This shortage is real, but it's only the surface of a much deeper problem: the misunderstanding, why governments and media keep blaming Airbnb. So, if Airbnb didn't cause the crisis, why does everyone think it did? That's the trick. The blame didn't spread by accident, it spread because it's simple. And people love simple stories when the real problems are too big to fix. Airbnb is easy to see: a logo, a name, a clear face to aim at. The real causes are slow, quiet, and hidden behind laws and a bunch of numbers. Politicians point to Airbnb because it distracts from their own mistakes and greed. It's easier to ban an app than to admit that you blocked new housing for decades. News outlets repeat the same headlines because outrage sells better than better policy talk. Social media turns anger into clicks, and the cycle keeps spinning. Meanwhile, the people who built this mess, the banks, the developers, the speculators, they stay out of sight and keep making tons of money. This misunderstanding isn't random, it's designed to be this way. Blaming Airbnb keeps the fire burning while the real arsonists walk free. The real engine: how greed and profit broke the housing market. Behind all of these housing stories is the same word: greed. It's not a new concept. It's the engine that drives the entire market. Once housing becomes a way to make fast money instead of a place to live, everything pretty much started to break. Big companies and investors now own chunks of neighborhoods. Hedge funds buy homes in bulk, rent them out, and raise prices every year. Developers chase luxury projects because that's where profit lives. And then governments even reward them with tax breaks. Can you believe this? Every piece of the system pushes prices higher because someone's paycheck depends on it. When interest rates were low and money was cheap, the rich borrowed millions to buy property. When rates rose, they didn't lose, but renters did. People think Airbnb started the greed, but it's been here for decades. The platform didn't create the hunger, it just showed us how big the hunger actually got. Greed is the real engine. It fuels every shortage, every rent hike, every lost home. You can ban an app, but that won't ban greed. It won't be stopped until the system stops rewarding it. The silent partner: how governments help create the housing crisis. Every system of greed needs someone to look the other way. That's where governments come in. They could fix the housing shortage. They have the power. Instead, they help the ones that built the problem. One slow permit, one zoning law, one tax break at a time. In Portugal, programs like the Golden Visa invited foreign buyers to scoop up homes for profit. In Spain and Canada, strict zoning and endless paperwork slowed new housing to a crawl. In Mexico, developers focused on luxury towers instead of homes locals could actually afford. Everywhere you look, governments are playing along. They always say the markets will fix themselves, and then they act shocked when it doesn't happen. They protect land values to keep investors happy. They raise taxes on workers while letting empty houses sit untouched. They point at Airbnb because it's an easy villain. But what they won't admit is that their own rules, delays, and cozy deals made housing unaffordable for a lot of people. Greed runs the engine, but governments built the road. They made the system that protects profit instead of people. And then now they act surprised when no one can afford the ride. I don't think they're actually surprised. I think that's all just BS. The fuel, how banks and broken systems keep homes out of reach. Every fire needs fuel. In housing, the fuel is the system itself, the banks, the money, and the rules that keep turning homes into investments. This is a massive machine that runs exactly how it was built. Banks make more profit from lending on homes than helping build them. That's why credit goes to buyers, not the builders. Governments tie housing policy to GDP. So when prices go up, it looks like the country is growing, even though many people are falling behind. Construction costs rise, interest rate climb, and the cycle squeezes regular families harder each year. Investors love this because scarcity means higher returns and that their properties are worth more. Every law that slows building or protects property values adds more fuel. And when things crash, these same players buy up all the housing and the property for cheaper. They wait for these kind of opportunities. The system, it never loses, but regular people do. The housing crisis isn't an accident, it's a design. The system feeds on shortage and rewards those who keep it that way. Until that changes, the fire will keep burning. The reset, seeing the full truth about Airbnb and the housing crisis. When you step back and see it all together, the story actually makes more sense. The anger towards Airbnb isn't wrong. The anger is just aimed too low. People are mad because the system stopped working for them. And Airbnb is the piece of the system that they can see. It's tangible. The truth is, Airbnb didn't cause the housing crisis, it exposed it. It showed how weak rules are, how deep the greed runs, and how little governments did to protect real people. In a broken market, even a small player can look like a villain. But when we fight each other, like local people versus hosts, renters versus travelers, the real winners are the ones who control the system, the ones who profit from the shortage and hide behind fake headlines. The problem isn't tourists staying for a week. It's the power that made housing a game of survival. Seeing the full picture means shifting the blame upwards, not sideways. Airbnb isn't the final boss. The system behind it is. And once we see that, the story changes from outrage and maybe into action. The fix, how we can rebuild a fair housing system for everyone. It's easy to point fingers, but it's harder to fix what's broken. The good news is that housing doesn't have to stay this way. The system was built by people, and that means people can create a new system or rebuild it. The real change is when we stop fighting each other and focus on the real cause. Governments can loosen zoning laws and speed up building. Cities can tax empty homes and limit corporate hoarding. Banks can be pushed to fund affordable housing instead of speculation. Ordinary people can support fair housing rules, demand transparency, and push leaders to care more about homes than profit. Even hosts and travelers can help by supporting local stays and being part of the community, not outside of it. This isn't a fight between renters and tourists. It's a fight for balance and order. Airbnb isn't the problem, it's the mirror. If we don't like what we see, we can change the reflection. Housing can serve people again if we choose to build, share, and protect it together. If you made it this far, you must have liked this video. And I have other ones like this one. This one's called 20 Ways to Annoy Mexicans in Mexico if you're an American. I'm sure you'll enjoy this one. So click it and I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.